Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. It's Ro. Today I will be sharing with you an updated tutorial of the tiered cake box. I've already posted this cake box months and months ago. I had one that I posted a few years back, and this is the updated one. So we are gonna grab all our materials, and we will start off with our bigger circles. This is the 10.75 circle. So you put that to the side, and then we are going to first work on the sides of our first tier. So you will take out your 12 by 4.5 strips. You need 3 of these, and then you're going to score at 0.5 on the base. So please make sure that you are checking the orientation if your paper is printed and it has to face a specific way. Please make sure that you are going to score the bottom. So 0.5 on all 3. And then once you're done with that, you are going to fold that score mark. You're going to do that for all 3. And then once you're done with that, you are going to bring out your 12 by 5.5 papers, because those will be the liner for this tier. You will notice that our liner is a bit taller than the other piece, and that is because it will hold that tier and its cover together. So that's how it will look like when you flip it over. And then you are gluing them together. You will do the same thing for all 3. And once you're done with that, we are going to do the snips. Those flaps on the bottom, we are going to be snipping those. And that is what I'm doing here. Again, you will do that for all 3. And once you are done, you will have this. So that's how it looks. And then the next thing we're doing is we are going to glue this onto our bigger circles so we can make our first tier. We will start off with our solid circles. So this project requires a lot of gluing and a lot more patience, because it's, well, I don't know for others, but for me it's not the easiest to glue, especially when the project is 3D. So a lot of patience. Okay, when gluing this, what I'm doing is I'm just doing it sections, like little by little. I'm not putting glue on all of those snips because it's going to get messy. So just a little. And then once that is dry, what I do is I am going to start gluing the rest of it, and I will now glue onto the circle instead of the snips, instead of that flap. So you will do that until you glued the full first panel. Remember, we have 3 panels for this tier. So you'll just glue that, and once you're done gluing this panel, you are going to take out your second panel, and then you are going to overlap around 1 inch. You don't have to be exact. I know that when you glue all 3 of the panels, you will have more than enough overlaps, so that 1 inch should be good enough to be able to hold all 3 panels together. So this is how it looks like when you overlap the second panel. And then you will do the same thing until you glue the full panel, and then you proceed to your third panel. And for the third panel, you are going to glue obviously both sides. Again, the remaining overlap of the third panel will be, I think, more than 1 inch, but that's okay. You do not need to cut anything, do not trim anything. It will just overlap. Just make sure that you put a lot of glue, just so it will hold on with each other. So there's that. Approximately 1 inch overlap for the third panel. And then again, do not trim anything. Once you're done, just glue the whole thing. And that is all you need to do for our first tier base. So let me just glue this, and then we'll go to the next part. So once you're done, this is how it looks. You are going to bring out your other big circle. If you want like more reinforcement, then just add another layer of the circle. I think since it's the base, you just need maybe 2 solids for the base, and then 2 prints, 1 print inside, and then 1 printed paper outside. So that should make it sturdy enough. Also, please make sure that before you glue stuff, especially these circles, before you glue them inside, please make sure that you measured them and see to it that it will fit perfectly inside, because sometimes the moment you put the side panels, sometimes it changes the shape of the circle. So you just have to make sure that your circle will still fit perfectly inside before gluing anything down. Up next, once you are done with that, I am just showing you that if you want to reinforce the inside, then just cut more side panels with the same size of that paper with the cars. So I guess that's the 12 by 4.5, but only if you want to reinforce it, but I don't think it's necessary. Up next, we're going to work on the lid for our first tier. So you take out your side panels, and that is going to be the 12 by 2.5. And then you are going to score at 0.5, but this time, please take a look at the orientation. You are going to be scoring on top instead of the bottom this time. Again, on top. The 0.5 score mark will be on top and not on the bottom, because this is going to be the lid of our first tier. And then once you're done with that, you are going to line this with your 12 by 2-inch papers. You are also going to bring out your bigger circles for the lid of our first tier. So you will still have your 2 solids, and then you have your 2 prints. And then for this, for the lid, you really have to make sure that you reinforce this, because this is where the second tier will be put onto, so it has to be really sturdy. So we are now going to glue our panels onto our big circles. But first, before you do that, please make sure that you have already glued your 12 by 2 liners, which is going to be that purple paper that you see here. Also, you may have noticed that I already did the snips. I did it off cam because it takes a while to do all that for the 3 panels. So basically, the process of doing it is the same with, it's almost the same with the base that we did earlier. So it looks like that. And then you will also have to overlap, and then it's basically the same thing. Right here, I'm pointing out again as a reminder to please make sure that you measure your circles first before you glue them onto the inside of the cover of the first tier. So like I said, once you put those side panels, it might change the shape, and once you try to put your printed cardstock, it might not fit. So please make sure that you measure it first and make sure that it will fit nicely. Once you glued on your printed paper, printed circles, next thing we are going to do is we are going to bring out the trims, and we are going to support the weight of our cover by putting this trim onto the edge of that first tier, like the smaller paper. So that's how it's going to look like. So by putting that trim, it will support the weight of this cover and the second tier as well. After that, you are also going to put the trim around the cover of our first tier. And once you're done with that, just put that to the side, and we are going to work on our second tier. So for the second tier, it is again the same process, almost the same process as the first tier, but for this one, as you can see, the panels, you are going to score on both sides. So you are scoring 0.5 on both sides. So the measurement of the side, so that is a 12 by 5. And then the liner, which is that purple paper, that is going to be 12 by 4. You're going to glue that purple paper onto the middle of our 12 by 5 panels, and make sure you are not covering the 0.5 flaps on both sides. You will also notice that for this second tier there are only 2 panels, and that is because it is way smaller than our first tier. Here we are going to do the snips just like we did on our first tier, and we are going to do that on both sides of the 2 panels. Once you are done with that, we are going to glue our panels onto our smaller circles. Also the same process as we did on our first tier. The only different thing is on our second tier we are going to be gluing circles on both top and bottom. So again, lots of patience and lots of glue needed to glue everything together. There will also be an overlap once you are done putting the 2 panels. Again, do not trim anything, just glue the whole thing together. Up next, we are going to put the other circle on top of this tier. Now this is a little bit tricky because you won't have anywhere else to fix, like you won't have any other space to be able to fix this, since the bottom of the other side of the tier is already covered. So you just have to be careful and just glue it slowly. For this side, what I'm doing is I am gluing the circle on top of the flap for most of it, but at the end of it, at just like a few snips left, I am going to switch it and I am going to glue the snips on top of the circle. I don't know if it makes a difference, but for me it's easier to kind of like shape the tier when I do that. You will see it a little later what I mean by gluing the snips on top of the circle. Like, see here, I am just gluing a few of the snips on top. Again, I don't know if this makes it easier, if it makes the tier like it'll make it look better, but it works for me. So that's how it looks once you're done gluing it. Don't worry if it looks messy, because that will be the bottom that will be glued onto our first tier. And then if you flip that, this side we are going to cover with our printed paper. So there's that. For the bottom of this tier, you don't need to glue onto it another printed circle, because you won't see it, so you don't really need to do that. So here again we are gluing our printed cardstock, and once you're done with that, we are going to bring out our trims again, and we are going to glue the trim onto our second tier, and that will make the edges cleaner. So this is how it looks. And now we are ready to glue this onto our first tier. And to do that, you are going to need a lot of glue. I suggest that you use wet glue instead of glue gun, because since we are going to be putting a lot of glue, if you use glue gun, it's going to dry before you're able to glue the whole tier onto our first tier. So wet glue is more than enough to secure this tier onto our first tier. And once you're done with that, this is how it looks. And we are actually done with the base of this tiered cake box. And the next thing we need to do is we just need to take out all of our houses. So this house, we made this using the Scrap Diva Designs Slimline Heart House die sets, and as well as the add-ons. So to cover our second tier, to fully cover it, you are going to need 7 of the houses all decked out. So you all have the layers glued onto it. And here you will see that I added foam tape on the middle of the back of the houses. Please make sure that you do not put the tape on like above, like where the roof starts, because that will show on the back. So you only need to put foam tape just up to the bottom of that roof. And then you are gonna glue on all the 7 houses. For all 7 houses to fit, you are going to need to glue them close to each other, where the bottom of the roof will touch each other. So you do that, and once you are done gluing all your 7 houses, you will have something like this. And once you are done with that, we are going to work on the top house. So you will still need the slimline heart house, but we are going to make it 3D. And for that, you are going to bring out, so you will be needing 4 of the base 1, 4 of the base 2, that's what I call it. And then we need a total of 4 cardstock, like 4 printed cardstock layers. That will be the topmost. But for the other 2, you are going to cut it. You are not going to need the roof. You can do this later on. I don't know why I cut it this early on, but I will show you why we need to cut it. I will show it to you later. So once you are done preparing all the pieces to make your 3D house, I am going to add some foam tape. I'm going to add some foam tape on this layer, just so we will have like a more layered look for this house. I don't think this is necessary, but I just like the layered look of it, which is why I did that. So you are gonna do that with those 2 full house, like the full house. So there's that, and then we have another one. So we have these 2 full houses. We will put that to the side, and then next thing we are going to work on is this. this one right here. Again, you don't need to pre-cut the roof off because we are still going to cut it at this this section right here. So here I'm just gluing the printed layer onto our base 2. And then once you're done with that, we are going to put our window panes right there. And then you are going to cut off the roof. So this is why I said you didn't need to cut off the roof earlier on, because you will still need to cut it this time. But yeah, I am going to cut this. I cut it so that no part of the roof will be included, so there's that. I think it's just a little over 4 inches, the height of the house. So here you are also going to cut. This is going to be the base 1. And I think I cut it for 4 inches. And then after that, you are going to add foam tapes on the back of those 2 pieces right there, just the same as we did with our 2 full houses. And once you're done with that, we are gonna stick these 2 onto our base 1. And once you're done with that, the next thing we are gonna do is we are gonna take out some scraps and we're gonna take off some scraps so we can put the house together. Now for the scraps, you are going to need 4 pieces of 4x1. So that's 4 pieces of 4x1, and then we are going to fold it in half. So with this, you are going to score it at 0.5. And then you are going to fold the score marks. And these strips right here, these will be the ones that will hold our 3D house together. So we are going to fold those. And once you're done with that, you are going to bring out those 2 pieces without the roof. Those 2 house pieces without the roof. And then you are going to glue these strips. The openings should face inside. Again, the strips, the opening should be inside once you glued them. So you're going to glue 1 on each side, and since we have 2 of this, the house pieces without the roof, so you're going to glue that too. And once you're done with that, this is how it looks. Up next, you are going to be needing a few scraps again, and for this you are going to need 4 pieces of roughly 2x1 I did not measure this, but it's roughly about 2 by 1. So 2 inches by 1. We are going to fold it in half. We are going to fold it in half so you will have like a folded 1 by 1 inch square. Roughly 1 by 1. Again, I'm not sure exactly the measurement for this pieces right here, but yeah. So once you're done folding it, we are gonna glue these little squares on the base. This is going to be the bottom of the houses. Again, these pieces will be glued onto the bottom of the houses. Also, the openings should face inside, like upward. You will also need to grab your 2 full houses and glue the remaining like square pieces that we just cut. And once you're done with that, we are now going to put our house together. And to do that, we are going to put glue onto those flaps, those longer flaps. And then we are gonna glue that onto the side of those full houses. So we're kind of like making a box. Then you just have to glue them together. And once you're done with that, we are going to glue these like little square pieces first onto our cake before we put the roof, because it'll be easier to glue it this time. So we'll take out our cake and then put a good amount of glue onto our small flaps. So you just have to make sure that the glue is dried and the base of the house is fully secured onto our second tier. And once you're done with that, you put this to the side and we are going to work on the roof of our house. For this video, I believe I am showing the wrong measurement of the paper because I know I went ahead and cut a little bit of it later on, but for the roof of the house, what you are going to need is the 3.75 by 7.5 inch piece of paper. So again, for the roof of the house, you're going to need the 3.75 by 7.5 inch piece of paper, and then you are going to score 0.5 on both sides on the 3.75 inch side, so 0.5 on both sides. And then you are also going to look for the middle of this paper, and for this part I scored it at 4 because initially my paper was 8 inches long, so which is why it was easier for me to find the middle because it's a perfect half. But since it's 7.5, you just have to fold the paper to find the middle of this piece of paper. Up next, you are going to fold those score marks as well as the middle. You are going to do a snip on the middle part so you'll be able to fold it and shape it into the roof of the house, which is what I'm doing right here. And then once you're done with that, we are now ready to put this onto the top of our house. And also, before you do that, before you do the gluing, please make sure that the roof won't have any like overhangs. I don't know what you call it, but you just have to make sure that no part of the corner of the roof will show. I will be pointing this out later. Again, I'm sorry for confusing you if you are, but I will show you later what I mean. Because initially when I said this piece was 8-inch long, I had to cut it because you would see the corner of that roof. You can see it like hanging. So we don't want that. For the roof, you will also be needing a little bit of trim just to cover the edge of the roof. And here you go. I am showing it to you. You have to make sure that nothing is hanging out. So you might need to do a little bit of snips just to make it cleaner. And then once you're done with that, all you need to do is add your trim onto that corner of your roof just so it's a little bit cleaner. And then after this, all we need to do is to decorate the rest of the cake box. And here I'm showing you how it looks. Again, pointing out that you check and make sure that no part of the roof is hanging. And here I added that trim that I mentioned just so the edges will look cleaner. And that is it for this part. I will see you in the next one where I will be decorating this cake box. Thanks, guys.